Well, on Beyond the Headline, today we are focusing on the issue of safety of solo travelers, especially women travelers. Traveling alone is supposed to be an experience that every individual, men and women, are advised at least once in a lifetime. The culture of women taking trips with other women friends or even alone is not alien anymore. But when it comes to solo traveling for women in India, families are wary of their safety concerns, especially traveling within the country. And perhaps there is reason for this anxiety. Take the case of what happened in Goa and Kerala recently. Two female travelers were sexually assaulted in two of country's top tourism hubs. What happened in both Goa and Kerala will make women rethink if they are planning a solo vacation. Two female travelers were raped in the country's top tourism hubs. This has raised concerns about safety of solo traveling, especially for women. The first incident took place in Goa, where a young student from Mumbai was attending a Christmas party. She was traveling with a group of 10 to 14 friends from her engineering college. They had rented a tempo van to travel to the party site. But while at the party, this young girl started feeling uneasy. So she went back to rest inside the tempo, and that is when the driver, finding her alone, sexually assaulted her and raped her. He threatened her with dire consequences if she reported about it. But kudos to the girl that she wasn't intimidated by any of this. Not only did she report it, she filed a police complaint. The accused has now been identified and arrested. And look at what happened in Kerala. This is the second shocker that comes from Kerala's Kozhikode. A Korean woman was sexually abused near the town's international airport. The incident came to light when the woman was stopped by airport officials because she did not have a return ticket to Korea. She seemed to be uneasy, and very soon it was discovered that she had gone through a sexual assault. She was taken to the government medical college, where this was confirmed after a medical test. The incident comes just a few days after a Kerala Sessions Court sentenced two men to life imprisonment for rape and murder of a Latvian tourist in the year 2018. So like I said, tourist destinations in this country, Kerala and Goa being two topmost among them, reporting horrific incidents of crime against women. Are women travelers safe then? That is a question we want to raise. These incidents could also end up doing irreparable damage to Indian tourism. Take a look at these figures. Almost 18 lakh foreign tourists visit India every year. The industry is worth almost $178 billion. But incidents like this one are like a bad advertisement for the country. Just imagine you're a young female traveler sitting in, say, Japan or South Korea or Italy or England. You see this piece of news and this video on social media, chances are that you will think twice before visiting India. And that is not what we want. Plus, we already have a poor track record when it comes to foreign travelers. India ranks 9th on the list of most unsafe countries for female travelers. We are clubbed with the likes of Morocco and Iran. Incidents like this will make that worse, will make that image worse. Well, that's the overall perspective that I wanted to give my viewers before I go across to my guests. I have a panelists from different walks of life who are fond of traveling and who have their views on how we should look at these situations and how we can correct them, probably. Joining me here on the program, Preeti Parthasarthi, content creator from PeppyTravelGirl. Sushma Gaikwad, co-founder, ICE Global and avid solo traveler. Madhu Kashyap, travel blogger. I also have Captain Tanya Vaz, travel enthusiast. So all four women travelers, and that's how I wanted it, because it is important for us to have this conversation here and to understand the kind of concerns that we are dealing with when it comes to women travelers. Preeti, let me start with you. What are your experiences so far? And when you see these incidents that has happened that we have reported about, what does it tell you? Where has things gone wrong, or where do you think systems are not in place?
So I've traveled extensively solo within India and internationally, and my experiences personally have largely been on the positive side. I suppose being a local in India also might have something to do with it. I'm not really sure, because these things are never really set in stone. And while as a woman, we go around and take as many precautions as possible when we're traveling, right? Like we will have pepper spray in our handbags, we will have, emergency contacts on our phones. Sometimes it's still not enough. And I feel like where we're going wrong is in actually not questioning the root of the problem. So like while women can take N number of measures to be safe, ultimately we also need to ask what is causing the women to feel unsafe and how we can actually tackle that. Because unless that is solved for incidents like these, they're shocking and they're going to rock anybody's, it's just going to blow anybody's mind. Like anybody wanting to come to India will be thinking twice. Anybody wanting to travel within India is going to think twice, even as an Indian. So unless that particular route is actually addressed, it doesn't really look very, very positive or very uplifting.
There are predators lurking everywhere. The point is there are countries where the rules are so stringent, where the law is so unforgiving that no one will dare do such a thing. Do you think that is where the problem is, that we do not have strong enforcement of laws? There is no fear of the law. If you see what happened with this young girl in Goa, here was a man who thought perhaps that he could get away with something like this. Perhaps he didn't expect the girl to go back and report, because if you recall what I explained to our viewers, that she was threatened with dire consequences. It happens every time, isn't it? But it takes a brave woman to go and report it. She did precisely that, and therefore today we are reporting about this. The fact of the matter is, Madhu Kashyap, and you've traveled a lot abroad, and that is why I want to bring you in. When I had a conversation with you prior to the program, you told me that I am happier traveling abroad. I feel safer, not so much in my own country. Is that true? Do you feel you have bigger concerns when you plan a solo trip within India?
Of course, in India, as you know, the law and order problem here everywhere around India is there. So when you travel abroad, I never felt any such problem at all. Even at 1 o'clock at night, at midnight, if I'm traveling, people, guide you so well. But here in India, you cannot manage to travel like that, because there are many security and, social threats for women. They do not feel safe at all traveling here. But I have some areas where, you can travel in cosmopolitan places like Mumbai, Bangalore and all. But in such places as Goa, whatever happened was really shocking. I never thought that anything as such could happen in Mumbai and Goa. What happened with that Korean traveler, and in Goa, the young girl.
Yes, and this is not the first instance of a Korean traveler. Even in Mumbai, Sushma Gaikwad, if I can bring you in as somebody who's lived in the city for very long, perhaps you would not have expected such a thing to happen, and we've reported it. I would request my producer to put out those pictures as well of a Korean video blogger who was grabbed by a young man wanting to take a picture with her, and then even went on trying to kiss her on the road, right in the middle of the road in car in Mumbai. She was traveling from Korea. She was a video blogger. Now, this is not what we want to present ourselves as. This is not the image of India I want. Sushma, you've traveled across India a lot. What are the best practices that you would have seen? Where do you think women should feel comfortable, and where do you think there are loopholes for us as travelers?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me, Afrida, and all
Pleasure.
of us here. I think it's a wonderful conversation to have. Well, I want to just talk about one thing. We're talking about safety of women. While I have traveled extensively in India, yet that has happened only over the past 15 years. But I have been a traveler internationally for the past 30 years. Now, that being said, yes, there has been harassment even internationally. And that's something I have faced. So let's not, I really would not like us to have this like blanket conversation about there is only harassment here. There's harassment everywhere. It's about what are the precautions you take for your own personal safety. And I also want to dwell on the fact that while, there's always something good and there's something bad, right? In every city, in every town, in every village. Now, that being said, let's see on how we can actually safeguard ourselves. And there are a few things I've been doing, because 30 years is a long time. We didn't have Google 30 years ago. We didn't have technology 30 years ago. And now we have access to information. Yet one important point is let's just not only focus on digitally enabled travel. Let's get a little organic when we are planning our travel. You're to the ground aspect. Look if, attempt to find some kind of connection, that you have some local there who can guide you on where you can go. I have taken a lot of solo hiking trips, by the way, where I go off into the mountain and there's absolutely no connectivity. So what I do personally is take photographs. I mean, it's crazy, but I actually take photographs of license plates of the rickshaws I travel in, and I send it back home so that they know who I'm traveling with. If I'm going with a guide on a solo hike, I ensure I take his Aadhaar card photograph and send it back home. So everyone knows at any particular point about where I am. Let's focus on the fact that we have grown to a point that now we can actually talk about women traveling solo. That was not the case 30 years ago. I know I sound extremely old when I say this. There's more connectivity. We can get to places. There is transportation available. There's a lot available for us to enable, which are enablers. So look at how we can heighten those enablers and utilize them to our advantages.
Yes, absolutely.
And Afrida, I must say, local support is the best support. Today there are panic helplines that are available. Get in touch. Get as much information you can. Do not go to isolated places. Do not. I mean,
but there is a danger. Because you brought this up, and I want to clarify this as well, that there's a danger, and when we do our search digitally, anything that you want to do, the tendency for us, of course, is to first quickly search for that place. You want to visit a city, you search up where should you be going, and now because of a certain algorithm and all of that is in place, certain people pay up a certain extra sum of money to show up higher in that search, and they may not always be the safest options. Now, these are things not many travelers know. So there needs to be certain kind of advisory, certain kind of guidance for solo women travelers. Captain Tanya Vaz, you are also a pilot and you've traveled a lot. I want you to come, and I believe this is the first time that you've decided to take a solo trip. So you've taken the plunge in that direction. What made you do so? What made you think that you can just pack up and push off all by yourself? Firstly, share with us that, and also how do we screen the wheat from the chaff when we are doing our searches online?
I have been traveling a lot, but it was mostly international. And while I have traveled within India, it was with family. So, I wasn't always alone, or friends, girls trips, but, with someone else. But what I find, whether you're traveling with friends or alone, start by informing people where you are going, where you will be. I made a very, very specific itinerary of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to see. And then, because this was my first trip in India, and I was very, very, I was not very comfortable with it because of all the stories that are floating around, and which is very sad. I mean, considering that, this is our country and there's so many beautiful things to see. My first solo trip was to Kashmir, and it was so stunning. But to think that, I have taken so long to make this trip, and I prefer to go all the way over to maybe Europe or US or Canada just because I feel that it is safer, is really sad. So I started with an itinerary, and then based on what I wanted, I booked through a travel agent that I had, worked with earlier in the past for one of my other travels, just so that, there would always be someone who knew exactly where I was, what the itinerary was. There was a driver assigned to me, and I just felt it would be a little safer if it was someone who knew what was going on and had a local idea of the place, considering that I did not have, all the obviously local know-how.
So, when you go into a completely unknown territory, Preeti Parsasarthi, what are the things that you would recommend solo women travelers to do? Because it's it's an area that you've not been there before. It's completely unfamiliar. You don't know people, and yet you want to venture. It's an adventure after all. But you, at the same time, cannot compromise on your safety. But the very fact that you've decided to take this adventure into an unknown, unventured territory itself, would have certain dangers involved.
It actually really makes me a little sad, given that as women we have to actually go out of our way to secure a basic right to safety. But I mean, it is how the world is at this moment. So whenever I want to kind of go into these kind of places that I don't know much about, or like I really want to explore, but I may have heard a few things about, I actually really cash in on the power of social media, because it's easy to find someone who's already been there, to connect with someone and actually get like a first-hand experience, because that is one place where you can't really go too wrong. So if I know that someone has been to, say, when I went to Kashmir, I spoke to a few people who have been there, some friends who've been there, some bloggers who've been there, and I've gotten maybe local connects that they trust. So if I know that it's coming from a reliable source, then I'm more likely to go with that option. And through that connection, you actually find more people who can actually create that ecosystem for you when you travel to that place. So in that sense, there is always a sense of security knowing that this has come in through a reliable person or a reliable source. And historically, that has always helped me. So like, more than just a search engine algorithm, which, like you rightly said, can be paid for and brought up to your top results, it's always through social media and through like-minded connects that I've actually been able to chart out itineraries that I felt have been safer and have worked for me better.
Yes. This is my concern, because I have also traveled alone quite a bit, and this has always been my concern, because when they show you, say, hotels or any tourist location that you want to visit, if you are price sensitive, and it may not always be a good idea to go for the cheapest places. And sometimes it is said that it's better to go for something that's priced a little higher, because you are likely to be safer. Sushma, do you go by that?
Well, I've stayed in all sorts of places. I've stayed in budget spaces and even 5 stars. Yes, it does make sense. Yet I have known of many many incidences where even if you're in even a 5 star, it's not about what happens in the 5 star, it's about what happens in the city. So I think we have to be a little cognizant about where we're going, and I completely agree with Preeti, and that's one of the best practices is get somebody to refer a place that you go to, and who has already been there, done that. They know the places to go to. They know the places that are very, very safe for women. Again, I completely agree with Preeti. But that being said, Preeti, I would like to throw a little googly here. 50 years ago, it was unheard about women traveling
Yes.
alone. So let's
Yeah,
be
we
a
should
little
welcome this trend
optimistic.
for sure. We should.
Yeah, I know.
That I agree
We
with
have to
you,
be
that this culture is
optimistic
picking
Need
up.
to be doing it, so it's normalized.
Yes, this trend is picking up. I hope COVID doesn't, come in as a spoiler here, because we all want to travel. We all, have dreams about the places we want to tick off in that bucket list.
Yeah.
But important points that are raised here, Madhu Kashyap, I want you to come in as well. See, now there are so many of these tour operators. They will give you very attractive offers. All women travel. Obviously, the fact that you are traveling alone, but there will be other fellow travelers, is again an attractive thing, where you feel you'll meet other people. But how do you pick and choose when you're spoiled for choice? In Mumbai, if you go, in every newspaper you will see, especially in the holiday season, so many attractive offers, budget deals, etc.
Yeah.
How do you choose? How do you ensure
Yeah.
safety?
Yeah, I do a lot of research, and even my husband, he doesn't travel much with me, but he helps me to plan my travel. So we do a lot of research, and we find out which place we should go and which is safe for a woman, and all those things we do.
So
And
research
even
is okay.
I would also like to add, suppose for first timers, solo traveler, you can even, consider staying in a hostel where there are lots of fellow travelers, you can be friendly with them, and together you can, move around. So that is
Okay.
also a very good idea.
Okay. I think two important points have come out. One about recommendations. It's always a very good idea, perhaps, to go with recommendations of friends and family who have been there, done that, especially if you are a first-timer, like Captain Tanya was. You take notes before you make your plans from people who have been to that location. That could be one major important thing. I want to get views from everyone quickly on what they think about Airbnbs, because these are not registered hotels or not, authorized places a number of times, but they offer very attractive deals, very competitive prices. Often you are tempted to go for one of those ideas, isn't it? Especially when you're traveling abroad. Captain Tanya was?
Yes, I have majority of my travel, I have stayed in Airbnbs, and I absolutely have had amazing experiences. It is very budget friendly as well, and and you interact with the owners half the time, and they give you great tips on travel and everything. But personally, I don't think I am yet at a point where I would consider the same in India. Mainly because of the safety aspect again, because in general, unfortunately, there is this sense of, it being unsafe,
Yes.
which I am yet to get over. So maybe with time, after traveling more extensively in India, I will maybe also give Airbnbs in India a chance.
Okay. I'm told I'm out of time. Quick last minute. Sushma, you want to come in on that?
Yes, I have stayed in Airbnbs in India, and it's been pretty safe. I think it's about awareness. It's about being 100% aware. And secondly, there's one thing we have, which most don't have, or the other gender doesn't have, and that is instinct. I think when you enter, nothing is better than instinct. So I would really say
Yes.
that Airbnb, hostels, there are a lot of hostels coming up across India. That's another wonderful budget place to stay, which has like-minded community living, which is wonderful, keeps you safe, and you have the right set of people with you. Airbnb's homestays are a big yes from me.
Okay.
Or in India, by the way, in India.
Right. I hope this conversation is useful to everyone who's watching. I would like to end with that note, what you said, that we women, we have strong instincts. We need to go with our intuition a bit more when we are making our choices. That's important. And of course, all precautions that are necessary. When we travel, unfortunate incidents reported from Kerala and Goa. But we do hope the authorities will learn lessons and put systems in place that this doesn't happen again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Beyond the Headline and making your important points on the subject.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.